everybody. Welcome to the MGS Podcast, your one-stop shop for movies, games, and sports. My name is Jake, here always with my best friend, Paul Kewen. How you doing, Paul?
Man, I'm doing great.
Got to start off the same way I did last time, verbatim.
Yeah. I like it.
I like it,
BFF,
too.
bro.
Yeah. We just wanted to give a big thanks to everyone who liked the last video, who subscribed. We had a lot of fun. I mean, I truly enjoyed doing that podcast, and we're all excited and nervous now doing this one.
Yeah, my hands are sweating. I'm like, man, now there's potentially 150 people watching us.
I think we're at 160 views right now on the last video. I'm not trying to brag or anything, but quick thoughts, by the way. I did go see Batman. Paul didn't.
Bro, I had something come up with my kids. Kids are first priority, so
I don't believe you. But quick thoughts, spoiler free on Batman. I loved it. I thought it was not only the best Batman movie to date, I think it's one of the best comic book movies that I've ever seen. Scout's honor.
So did you go in there with no drinks in your system? Because I heard, obviously, it's a 3-hour runtime, but with commercials, or not the commercials, but the trailers in the beginning, that's close to 4 hours with everything.
So a lot of times when I go to the theater, I get their flatbread pizza.
Yeah.
And I couldn't. Because I'm like, I'm not going to be able to, being lactose intolerant,
That's
I'm not going to be able to eat
bro.
that and wait 3+ hours before my break. But no, so I had my drinks. So I had my popcorn, my giant Mr. Pibb. It was a good time.
Mr. Pibb, man. Dr. Pepper would be super angry with you.
I actually prefer Pibb now.
Do you really?
I do.
This is new news.
I think it tastes more pruny.
Let me break this down on my BFF notebook.
Yeah. But in today's podcast, we're going to be talking about The Adam Project, which is a new movie starring Ryan Reynolds. We're also going to be talking about Gold, which is a new movie starring Zac Efron.
Zac Efron, yeah.
For gaming, we're going to be talking about some Battlefield 2042 alternatives, because I know a lot of people aren't very satisfied with Battlefield 2042, so we're going to give you some alternatives. What are we talking about for sports?
Sports, we have a couple new late news that came in at the very end of the day we want to touch up on, but today we're actually going to go into what is the fastest growing sport in America right now, which is pickleball. So, pretty unique game, pretty cool. I'm excited to talk about it today, and let's get this thing rolling. With our,
right.
Kick it off here with our first segment, which is going to be going in order of movies, games, and sports. So, kick it off here with the Adam Project.
Now, do we have to movies?
As long as it fades away like that, yeah, I think
I could do that in editing. But okay. Yeah, so first movie we're going to talk about is The Adam Project, which is a new Netflix original starring Ryan Reynolds, Mark Ruffalo, Jennifer Garner.
Yep, and Zoe did Avatar, played in Columbia, the movie Columbia.
Oh my God! See, now you've got me all messed up.
She brain played her last name.
Zoe Saldana.
Yes.
Saldana. Yeah.
Yes. Love her as an actor. So she's in it as well. So there's actually a bunch of stars in this movie. And watching a couple of the different trailers they've launched, I'm pretty excited to see it. I know you love Ryan Reynolds as a man.
Dude, Ryan Reynolds sponsors my son's school. I don't know if I ever told you that.
You did.
Yeah, he's one of the sponsors for the school, and they did this event where he was going to be there video chatting. I wanted him to see me seeing him. But
there would have been a look.
Yeah, oh my God. We would have been best friends. You would have been replaced. You would have been replaced.
Whoa.
I love you to death, but which Deadpool we're talking about?
Yeah, but Deadpool, that's it. What else has he got, man? Van Wilder.
Waiting.
Oh, Waiting, another great one.
Yeah.
Van Wilder was one of my favorite movies by him when he first started.
Yeah, he had such chubby cheeks back then too. You ever look back at how he used to look? He had a glow up.
A glow up.
Glow up.
Yeah.
When he grows up and he's just glowing.
Yeah.
But speaking of those movies though, when you look at the preview for the Adam Project, it looks a little bit more serious than a lot of the stuff that he's done, at least recently.
So, I love Ryan Reynolds. I love him as an actor. But I feel like he was made for Deadpool.
He was.
I mean, obviously, his character is perfect in both Deadpool movies, and I absolutely loved it. it's just like I have a hard time watching some of his movies and feeling like I'm watching the same character over and
In
over
every
and
movie,
over.
yeah.
Yeah, like he did 6 feet,
6 Under?
6 Under,
Six
which was
Under,
that
yeah.
movie. It's like a heist movie in cars and
He's like a
everything.
billionaire who
Yeah, it
finances the
just
whole
it
operation.
was a terrible movie. It wasn't great. There's a couple stars in that movie as well. And then there was Red Notice, which he also did with his Netflix movie,
With Dwayne The Rock Johnson,
right? Which
you know?
actually wasn't bad.
But he was still Deadpool in
Right,
that
and
movie.
I just
But
couldn't. I
I
can't.
guess we can't even say that he was Deadpool. He was Ryan Reynolds. Just it just so happens that Deadpool is like exactly the way that Ryan Reynolds is as a person.
100%. And so I have a hard time like looking past that sometimes with his movies, which could be I don't know, like it's different. But like when I watched this trailer, I was like, oh, this is a little bit more of a serious role.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the trailer yet, go check it out. But obviously, it's going to tell you in the trailer that he meets up with his future self from a kid to an adult, and this time travel type sci-fi movie. And looks like there's a lot of action in
Yeah.
it. As we mentioned before, 4 big movie stars that are going to be in it. I think Mark Ruffalo plays the dad,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it just looks really good. So I'm excited to see it. It launches on Netflix, I believe, on the 12th.
I think the
Um,
11th.
the
Whatever.
11th.
It's on Friday.
So
Whatever.
then, I believe Friday.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um,
Actually, both movies we're talking about launch on Friday.
okay.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see it. I'll definitely be watching that one at home with the wife, and look forward to it.
Now, the synopsis of the movie, it talks about how, he's a fighter pilot from the future who crash lands in the past and meets his 12-year-old self. What would you do if you met your 12-year-old self?
Bro, run.
I know what I would do. I would smack the shit out of myself because when I was 12, I had a mustache, and I know I've told you about it before. Like, we're talking 7 hairs on this side and 4 hairs on this side, and they were thick. And childhood friends used to always tell me to shave it. I'm like, no,
No way. I worked hard for these.
you're just jealous that you can't grow a mustache like this. But I would, oh my lord, I would smack the ever living shit out of myself. And
Speaking of facial hair and all that, when you're going, 12 years old, puberty hits hard. Um, I remember sitting there at the baseball field one time with my buddies, and we were sitting there and just all chit chatting, and I was like, "You're only a real man if you have some of these." And I showed some armpit hair, and I was like, one of my only friends that had some armpit hair at 12 years old, and I was just so proud of it. And they're like,
See?
"Oh my god!"
see, and on the flip side, all my friends were older when I was a kid, so I was the last one with armpit hairs, and they used to make fun of me, so I would lie and be like, "No, I shaved my armpits." That's why there's no hair there. It's
Not
not
me,
because
man. I
didn't
was
grow
proud
it.
of those things.
I mean, once I finally got all 7 of them, I was, I flaunted them like crazy. But yeah, oh my lord, yeah, my 12-year-old self would not be happy to see me either. But Ryan Reynolds' 12-year-old self in the trailer looks pretty confused and happy to see himself. Ryan actually co-produced the movie too, or no, he produced the movie.
Did he?
He did.
Interesting. I didn't know that either.
Yeah, he
So,
does a lot of producing. I mean, he's one of the producers for Deadpool as well. But one thing that threw me off a little bit is Jennifer Garner being in it. I haven't seen her in a while. I every once in a while I think she's still on like Capital One commercials.
yeah, that's. I mean, I don't know why every time I think back on her, I think of Daredevil.
Yeah, Elektra. That's
Yeah.
what and that's what killed it for her.
Yeah.
But she was in that one movie, 13 Going on 30 or whatever, which is also about time travel in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, she's going back to form. And Mark Ruffalo, he's also time traveled as Hulk
That's
in
true.
Endgame. Yeah.
There's a lot of time travelers in this
And
movie.
so as Zoe Saldana, because she time traveled in the Marvel movies as well. So everyone's just time traveling.
God, how did I not forget? How did I forget to mention Guardians of the Galaxy when we were trying to think of her last name?
I mentioned it.
Oh, did you?
I think
All right,
so.
Good.
See, now I'm doubting it, and people are gonna go rewind and see if I said it. But no, with this movie, there isn't a whole lot to talk about. The details are pretty slim. I know the movie comes out on Friday on Netflix. It's a Netflix original, so make sure you check it out. But because there isn't a lot to talk about with that movie, we actually have a second movie that we're gonna go into, which is Gold. Gold stars Zac Efron and Anthony Hayes. They actually produced the movie together. Anthony Hayes is the director, co-producer, and co-writer for the movie.
Interesting. Yeah, and it takes place in a very exotic location, middle of the desert.
The middle of the desert. Yeah. So, so I actually was late seeing the trailer for that movie. For anybody who doesn't know or hasn't seen the trailer, so it's a movie that takes place in the near future, where I mean, you would assume a loner who's traveling by himself comes across another guy, and they found like this giant piece of gold in the desert.
Buried
Um,
in the sand and trying
yeah,
to dig it up.
and then one of them has to leave, which leaves Zac Efron's character alone in the desert. And I mean, the trailer, it actually looks pretty intense. I mean, it's nothing that I would have pictured High School Musical in,
Yeah.
you know?
Mr. High School Music.
Yeah. I mean, even him in Baywatch, any Zac Efron that I've seen, I don't think I could have pictured him in a movie that looks so serious like Gold does.
Yeah, I mean, if you really think about it, a lot of the movies he's done, like you mentioned, Baywatch, Neighbors.
I forgot he was in Neighbors, the one of the
Um,
frat boys.
yeah, and it's funny because like it's a romantic, I guess, comedy, if you want to say, but that awkward moment is like one of my favorite Zac Efron movies. It like gets more serious towards the end, but it's like this guy who lives this like bachelor lifestyle and goes out and is hooking up with people. But it has him, Miles. Uh,
I know who you're talking about. He's Aaron Rodgers' friend. Yeah.
yes, yeah. God, what is it? Something Miles. But and then also, dude, I'm terrible with names.
Well, if it makes you feel any better talking about names, I can't watch a romantic comedy if Matthew McConaughey's not in it. All right, all right, all right. That's so much better than your Arnold impression from the last podcast.
You know what I love about them high school girls? We get older and they stay the same age.
Hey,
Days of
FBI,
confused.
FBI, that was him that said that. That was not me.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. Like you said, I think it looks really intense. So, like we said, it takes place in the middle of the desert. Obviously everybody knows when you're in the desert, you're getting super dehydrated. You don't have water, not a lot of supplies out there. Looks like he finds like a broken down plane
Yeah, yeah.
to kind of crash in, but he ends up seeing somebody, and you kind of start wondering if this person's really there, if it's like
Yeah,
a
that's Susie
hallucination.
Porter's. Susie Porter? I think her name is. I've never seen her before,
I have not. I'll have to look up and see what other
yeah,
movies she's been in.
but yeah, you see her and you see what hyenas,
Yeah, like surrounding
and it just
him.
makes me wonder how much of that is like him just hallucinating from severe
Sure,
dehydration.
because
And,
you look at it and his lips are all dried out, and
yeah, kind of like
um,
how mine are right now. I'm
yeah.
parched.
So yeah, it looks cool. At first when I first saw the trailer for the first time, I was like, man, it's gonna be one of those movies like they just take place in the same spot,
Like,
and it's like
what was it,
redundant.
127 hours? I think that movie with why,
James Franco.
yeah. Why are we so bad with names?
128 days, I think is what it
No,
is.
it's definitely not 120.
128 hours.
You
No, you're
think,
right.
you
You're
think, you
right. Yeah.
think, you think he was in that hole
Yeah,
for
where he lost
128
his
days?
arm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, based
128 hours.
on
Yeah.
true story. Yeah, but for this movie, actually, it was Sam Worthington, from Avatar, who was supposed to be the lead role in this movie, but at some point, don't know what happened. I don't know if it was because they're pursuing different things, but at some point they replaced Sam Worthington for Zac Efron, which
He has a big movie coming out later this year, so it could have been conflicts with Avatar 2
yeah.
coming out. So
Oh, Avatar too, big movie. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's
Oh,
a
right.
little small.
Yeah,
Disney only has a whole part of their theme park dedicated to it, so it's not that big.
But I mean, I think I'm okay. I'm okay with it only because I do think of Sam Worthington as more of a serious actor. He's in a couple of comedies, but most of his movies are pretty serious. He was in one of the Terminator movies.
Yeah, the Salvation,
Avatar.
Terminator
Yeah,
Salvation, and then Avatar, and then he also did the Clash of the Titans, Clash of
yeah.
the
Oh, and I love that movie.
Wrath of the Titans.
Hmm.
So yeah, no, those were good. A lot of CGI in those movies,
Yeah.
but
One thing they don't have to CGI, Zac Efron's eyes.
yeah,
You ever,
His whole body, bro. The guy.
you ever look at that man's eyes though? I would be worried to meet Zac Efron in person.
No, I'd be worried about my
Because
wife meeting Zac Efron in person.
no, I'm more worried about me meeting Zac Efron in person because I would just stare nonstop into his eyes to the point where I'd hyperventilate,
Such a beautiful man.
have an anxiety attack, and probably die.
You know what's funny is Zac Efron. There was talks about him being casted in Adam Warlock.
Oh yeah,
for Guardians of the Galaxy,
yeah, and then they picked the weird-looking kid who also had a glow up. We talked about glow ups earlier.
You know, it's funny because I only knew his character from We Are the Millers. He also did Chronicles of Narnia, so he like only has that younger person. And then I was looking at photos the other day, and I was like, "Oh, this guy actually now looks like a man."
Looks good.
Like,
what was his name? Will Poulter.
Yeah, Poulter.
Will Poulter.
Yep, that's exactly it.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that jawline with Batman the other day, and Will Poulter's got himself a jawline now too.
Dude, I was surprised, man. I was like, wow, it's like you forget about it. You think that movie was only a couple years ago, but it was actually like, you know, 5-6 years ago. So he grows up, and so I'm excited to see that too. We'll obviously do a huge segment on Guardians of the Galaxy when it comes out later this year.
Oh yeah.
And you know, leading up to it with the what we think of Adam Warlock and everything that's going on with that. So.
Now, quick question: since we were on the topic of jawlines, do you trim your beard right at your jawline to try to make it look more defined?
It depends on where my double chin is on the Richter scale.
Because I gotta like shave mine lower because I don't have a jawline. It's just like inverted. So
inverted.
Yeah.
You want to use
But and Gold will be in, I believe it's in theaters. It's going to be a limited release, so it's not going to be available in all theaters.
Which makes me think that it'll hit a streaming service probably shortly after.
Yeah.
Someone will scoop it up. I mean, shoot, HBO's been scooping up a ton of.
Well, I know when I was looking to see what theaters it was going to release in, I had seen that Vudu. Now I don't know if it's to rent it on release day, but with Vudu you can rent it for $17.99.
Okay,
but I don't know if that's going to be on release day. So some streaming services seem to possibly already be picking it up, but that releases this Friday.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely check them out. Give you our thoughts and opinions coming in next week on those.
We both know Paul. We all know Paul won't see it, just like he was supposed to see Batman.
No, because those things I can watch inside my house, or my wife, can sit there with me and watch them, and the kids are in the bedroom sleeping. So yeah, it makes it a little bit easier there. No, I promise I'll get out and watch Batman. I definitely want to see it. I may have to sneak out sometime in the middle of the week and go watch it daytime, and go see it. But I've heard nothing but good things about it. Excited to see it. Without a spoiler, I've heard that there's no after credits, just a little link that blinks on the screen. Did you see that?
We're going to talk about that for a second.
So is that not going to spoil anything for anybody?
It doesn't spoil anything.
Okay.
No, there's no spoilers. So Elijah says, I saw it with my nephew Elijah, and he says there's a post-credit scene. Mind you, I'm wanting to go back home to play Destiny with the California people, Eric and T-Bone. And he's like, there's a post-credit scene. I'm like, all right. So I text the guys quick, like, hey, wait for the post-credit scene, and then I'll be on. So we wait 10 minutes through the credits just for this thing to come up. It just says, goodbye. And then there's a link. I'm like, man.
10 minutes of your life you're not going to get back.
And it was so quick, I didn't even get the link.
Oh, really? So you didn't... So there could have been something there, but
I guess it wasn't much. But yeah,
I'm sure YouTube will have it up.
So for those of you who have not seen it, there is a post-credit scene. If you want to wait for it, that's up to you. Maybe check out that link and let me know what it was. But I think that wraps things up for the movie segment. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Back for some games.
Gaming.
I like it. There you go.
Hey, Paul, did you know that there's people that are watching this right now who aren't even subscribed to the channel?
Who wouldn't subscribe
I don't
to
know.
the channel?
Apparently people that hate movies, games, and sports.
But who hates movies, games, and sports?
Communists. Ha!
In America? Hey, everybody, welcome back to the MGS podcast. We are getting ready to kick it off here with our second segment of the day, which will be games. We know that there's a lot of unhappy people out there for the new Battlefield game with Battlefield 2042, which we've had our own thoughts and opinions on it, but we love playing it.
Oh, yeah.
Battlefield's always been kind of our game. We still get on it. We're going to stick through them through thick and thin.
Yeah, I mean, even when I finish a match with 110 kills and you have 4, it's still fun.
No, dude. I mean, it's been a while. I get like 6 now. But we wanted to bring up some alternatives to Battlefield 2042. Different games that are out there. The games we're going to talk about today are going to be a little bit more PC related. There's one that's console and PC as well. But Jake enjoys playing all 3 of these games that we're going to get on topic about. And I'll let you kind of kick it off and take it from here.
Okay, so the first one I want to bring up, and the reason is, I mean, it was made to compete specifically with Battlefield. It's a game called World War III, which conveniently is the U.S. versus Russia. Hopefully we don't see that in real life.
Like everybody knew what was coming.
I know.
Knew who the hotheads were.
Same way. I think everyone, since the Cold War. But so World War III was actually made by an indie developer called The Farm 51. It's a PC-only game. However, they do plan on porting over to console eventually. The game actually came out quite a while ago. It came out in 2018. I remember when before it came out, I actually sent you a trailer of it. I don't know if you remember, because this would have been summer of 2018, but I sent you a trailer because at the time I think we were playing Battlefield 1, and we were upset because we just want a modern shooter.
Right.
So that's what World War III was. It was to compete with Battlefield, and then of course Battlefield came out with Battlefield 5, still not being a modern shooter. So World War III, if you've ever played Battlefield, it's a very similar game. It's all-out warfare, big maps, vehicles, explosions everywhere. But when the game first came out in 2018, it actually did really bad. I think it peaked at 10,000 players on launch day. And then within 2 months, it was like 100 players total playing the game.
Wow.
Is
that because of game style play, or did it just not get the recognition out there? They didn't do a good job advertising it per se.
Honestly, all of that plus some. So the game wasn't advertised very well unless you constantly are on Steam. For those of you who don't know what Steam is, you should be ashamed of yourself. Steam is,
I'm ashamed.
Yeah, Steam is where most computer or PC gamers get their games. It's the largest store for games. But they did show it on Steam, but that was it. There was no commercials, there's no advertising. Again, it's a small indie developer, so they didn't have the money for that. The game also couldn't handle the amount of players. That 10,000 peak, their servers couldn't handle it, so the servers kept crashing. They didn't have any type of anti-cheat, so hackers were just destroying the game.
Two
just
of the
aim
quickest
botters.
ways for somebody to leave a game and not pick it up to play it again is hacking and server crashes.
So when I finally got into the game, I remember when I first played, there were 60 players online total in the world playing this game. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. This was about a year after release, and it actually pulled me away from Battlefield 5 at the time. And it's a very similar game modes. You've got your conquest style game mode where you're going to different objectives and capturing and holding them. And, the enemy gains or loses tickets depending on, how many objectives are held. But it just lost its player count. So it kind of died. But recently, this would have been about a year ago, they actually were bought by a publisher called My.Games. My.Games actually has one very successful game called Warface, which is a free-to-play game. So, they started pumping money into World War III, and they recently did a closed beta re-release for people who used to own the previous game. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
So I'm assuming servers better
Server stability is great.
and found a way to kind of eliminate. I mean, obviously, you can never eliminate all hacking,
Yeah,
but at least do as much as they can to
yeah.
eliminate it
There
from.
is an actual anti-cheat now. I believe they use easy anti-cheat, which is one of the more common ones for PC. Um, the biggest issue I had with the game was the audio was pretty trash. You couldn't tell where the footsteps were. The gunfire just didn't sound realistic. But last week they put out an audio patch, which just, I mean, if it was on console, I'd make you play that instead of Battlefield right now.
And for those of you who don't know, and you'll learn to know it throughout this podcast, Jake is both console. I mean, the guy's got like every different console you can do of Xbox, PlayStation 5. Plays everything really on PC now. But he's willing to give a lot of games shots. So you'll hear us talk about a lot of different games that are out there that you may not have heard of. But he's very particular on what he likes.
Yeah.
So, when you hear him talk about some of these other games, and even just World War III, there's a reason why we bring these games up, and it's because there's a lot of potential in them that you may not have heard of as a viewer. So we want to bring these to your attention and for you guys to give them a shot as well, because like we said, we can be very particular about the things that we like and that we enjoy, and I think World War III has a lot to offer, from the video clips I've seen, and then obviously now getting kind of a little boost here with the publisher coming on board,
And it's going to be free to play.
and which is even better. Everybody likes free.
The weapon customization is one of the best in any game that I've ever played, with the exception of Escape from Tarkov. It's amazing. Like, it's...
Don't go back to Escape from Tarkov.
I love Escape from Tarkov. But, it's funny, when the ruble crashed in Russia, because Tarkov is made by a Russian developer,
Okay.
the ruble crashed in the game, too.
No
So
way.
the market in the game, you can't afford anything now because the ruble is worth almost nothing. So a gun that was $200,000 is now like $1.8 million.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Yeah, so World War III currently in closed beta. It's actually going to be opening up to open beta this month, probably next week. So anybody who has a PC will be able to download it for free.
Any particular date or time frame of when it could be coming to console?
They haven't said yet. They just said early March.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll see it. The rumor is next week, but that hasn't been confirmed by anybody with the publisher or the developer. So, but
Okay.
that's the rumor is next week.
So it could be soon. So
Could be soon.
hopefully we're hoping for at least by the end of the month.
Yeah. And
to have that out there.
To move on to a console game, which is also available on PC, is Insurgency Sandstorm. Now, Insurgency Sandstorm, it's done pretty well. It first released in 2018 as well on PC, and it's your more large-scale battle, although they do have your team deathmatch and things like that. They have a mode similar to Rush and Battlefield where, you're going to plant the bomb. One team defuses, one team plants the bomb. But Insurgency Sandstorm, it's been on PC for almost 4 years. It just released on console late last year. So now console players are able to play it as well. One big thing with the games that I'm talking about, by the way, they are more grounded in realism in terms of time to kill. So if you get shot once in the head by any weapon, you're dead.
So a lot more realistic.
Yeah. But in World War III, you can actually get different types of helmet that offer different armor.
Sure. Okay.
And it'll help. But Insurgency Sandstorm, they actually have this amazing offline mode where you can play against AI. And that's the most fun that I've had with that game, is playing against AI. Because
So kind of like a training, get on there, learn the basics of the game. And
that was the idea behind it at first. And then it turned into just
this is fun.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. Especially on PC, because PC supports mods. So you can mod the game to give yourself different weapons, more enemies. You can make the enemies smarter. You can add in like different airstrikes and things like that on PC. But overall, the game is a lot of fun. I know a lot of people that actually play it on console now as well.
So real quick, how big are the server lobbies on that?
If I recall, the large game mode is 32 players. I could be wrong.
So 64 total, or you're talking about like
16 versus 16.
Okay.
Yeah, that's their larger mode. And I believe the team deathmatch is 8 versus 8.
Okay. So go back to a little bit of a smaller
Yeah.
scale wise on lobby, but still good sized maps.
Yeah.
Still getting all your tanks, helicopters, planes, all that, or limited.
Limited.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not the same as, Battlefield, but there are the vehicles in there. The explosions in that game are pretty cool too.
Yeah,
I gotta say, and
I'll have to check that out. I
the the most fun that I have, like I said, is playing in lobbies against AI. I'll go on a random lobby with some other people online. There'll be like 10 people versus like 600 AI enemies, and you just like lined up at a door, aiming down the way, and you just have like 30 guys pop out at the same time, and it's satisfying. It's so satisfying. But then the last game I wanted to talk about is Squad, which the reason this is a very good Battlefield alternative is it started from a Battlefield game. You played Bad Company 2, right?
Yep.
So Bad Company 2 had a mod on PC called Project Reality. It basically took the Bad Company 2 game and just made it into more of a military simulator. And that mod was so successful, I believe in 2014, that in 2015 they released their own game that they built from the ground up called Squad. Now, Squad, out of the games I've mentioned, is extremely grounded in realism. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be. It's a military simulator. It's not just a normal first person shooter. You're not going to run, slide, jump around, and start shooting. You actually can't. You can slide, but you can't shoot while you're
And
shooting.
there's a good reason why the name Squad is there, because you pretty much get kicked out of a map if you're not there communicating with your
Yeah.
team the entire time, right?
Yeah, so each squad has a squad leader. The squad leader reports to the commander of your team, and the commander, gives the orders on where to go, what to do, and so you have to listen to your squad leader. And if you don't, you'll get kicked. That being said, that's the one downfall of Squad is if you have a bad squad leader, you're not going to have fun. If you have a good squad leader, you're going to have probably the most fun you've ever had in a first-person shooter. It's
Which I think it gives you that's a cool aspect of the game, because it keeps you really engaged.
it does.
So you're like constantly like playing this, which we all love about these war games. Is
Yeah.
like like especially when we're playing even Battlefield, is like we communicate a ton
We do.
on objectives.
Besides when you're frustrated.
Yeah, that happens often, man. I get frustrated a lot, but yeah, I mean that makes it a lot more engaging to be able to sit there and communicate and sit there and like hey, we need to go this way or this way, or we got enemies over this way northwest, and kind of communicate that in that aspect of the game. So
Well, and with Squad, which separates it from the other games I talked about, it's like you don't get to create a loadout. Again, it's a military simulator. So you get to pick from whatever class you are. So, if you're a rifleman, you've got 3 different rifles you can choose from that already have the attachments on them. But, it's one shot headshot just like the other games. But you can get downed, you can drag, like let's say you're running across a field and you got downed, I can go over there and drag you back to cover to try to heal you, and that's super exciting to do.
That's actually really cool.
It's super exciting. I was doing it one time, and I kid you not, you could hear a mortar shell coming, and then the mortar shell just hits me right as I'm dragging this guy to safety.
So is it gruesome? Like if a mortar shell hits somebody, they lose their legs or something? No,
that would be pretty
sweet.
cool. But and speaking of mortar, that's one of the things that I've been with a squad leader before where he was very upfront as soon as we got in the game, where he said like, hey guys, we're going to be providing mortar support. So if you want to be infantry, join a different squad because we're going to go build mortars. So we go out into this like distant part of the map and we start building these barricades and these bunkers and then the mortars, and then we just start shelling objectives with mortars. And
so is that the first time you've ever done that?
yeah,
that's got to be pretty cool.
It was really cool. I had to so one thing with Squad is you don't be afraid, if you do play the game, don't be afraid to ask questions. There's a lot of lobbies in there that actually say new player friendly, and they want you to ask questions rather than just be clueless and trying to run and gun by yourself. So I told these guys, are like, hey, get in a lodgy and go resupply. I'm like, what? So I told them, I'm like, to be honest with you guys,
repeat that.
This is my second time ever playing the game. What does that mean? And I mean, they were so nice and they explained it. And the thing with this game, it's the same players who play the game. So if you find a lobby that you like, you're going to play with the same players all the time. So you'll start to know people within the game, which even, I mean, that makes it more exciting too, to see a name that you recognize. And
Played with before. You
yeah,
kind of build this chemistry, especially
yeah,
if you're, super, if it's super interactive as communication,
yeah,
to be able to go back in and play with somebody you've played with before that's, not on your friends list or something like that, but you can go in and
yeah.
know, like, hey, I know this guy. This is cool.
I will
So,
say though, so you're not going to get 30, 40, 50 kills per game. A lot of times I finish a game with one kill. It's the most satisfying kill in a first person shooter. Every single time it's the most satisfying kill that I've ever had. Just because it's that intense. The explosions are so realistic. I mean, I'm actually getting excited talking
just
about
think about it.
squad. Out of the
We're
three
going to go
games
to a
I've
break real quick so we can play one game on the
yeah,
PC.
so we can quick play, so we can quick play some squad. Paul actually hasn't. He's seen a few clips of me playing squad, but he's never actually experienced it before. The clips only do so much.
Right, for sure.
Whereas if you're in front of the mouse and keyboard, which he won't even know what to do with, it's exciting. Um,
Now, so these maps are huge.
they are
I was
massive.
like, say, I think I remember you telling me like these things you could run for a
Yeah.
while and not even see a soul. So,
So I had a squad leader. Speaking of, if you have a bad squad leader, you're not gonna have a good time. They're like, spawn on me on at main, which is the main base for the team that you're on. So I spawn on him at main, and he just starts running. I'm like, okay, I'll follow my squad leader. We ran for 20 minutes
holy cow!
to the city. It took us 20 minutes to get to the city,
So
and
at
then I
main
died.
base, no vehicles.
There are. I just didn't know what they were doing
Well,
as
I
the
guess your
squad
squad
leader.
leader's just running, so you're
Yeah.
just like, all right, we're
I should have
checking it.
known better when I joined and the rest of my squad didn't go with the squad leader.
This guy's nuts. You know how far we have to run?
Oh man, but it was funny because we ended up dying, and then when we respawned, there's no vehicles at this point, so now we actually have to run from the main base to the town. But the commander came by in a truck, and he's like, "Why are you running?" Squad leader wanted me to.
Just obeying orders, sir.
And he made me squad leader then, and I didn't know what to do as a squad leader, like because there's all these different controls and
Promoted mid
like
match.
yeah, like you can build radios as spawn points and you can build these different things and assign roles. I didn't know how to do
Any
any
of
of
it,
that,
right?
so when they made me squad leader, I'm like, exit, 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 and I just quit the game.
So real quick, with these maps being as massive, I mean, same question from the other games. How big is the server lobbies on these? How many people
It's 100
per game?
players,
100 players.
50 versus 50. Now, there are designated roles. Like, you'll have designated people who only fly helicopters, and their job is to go pick people up, drop people off.
So say you're the last person in your squad alive, is there any teaming up with another squad if you find
Yeah,
them along the way?
yeah, you
Can you
can.
communicate with them?
Yeah, so there's three different communication options in the game. There's a way that you can communicate so only your squad can hear you on the radio. There's a way you can communicate so anybody on your team within your proximity can hear you, and then there's a way that you can communicate directly with the commander of
Okay.
your team. So, you just most of the people just communicate with everyone within
So
proximity.
technically, you could be like running close to front lines and then change that communication and be like, "Hey, I need mortar support
Yeah.
over on this side. Can you,
Yep.
that's awesome. That's really cool.
It's exciting.
That's that's actually pretty awesome to be able to
Out
have
of the
that.
three games that I've mentioned, Squad is my favorite, but it's not for everybody.
Right.
People who are into the Call of Duties and Battlefields, Battlefield, you're gonna like it a little bit more than a Call of Duty fan will, but it's not for everybody because, like I said, it's extremely realistic. It can be frustrating, but it's so rewarding that the frustration is worth it.
Right.
Um,
Pretty
so
much have to be a team player
you have
for
to be.
sure.
So Squad
Can't go
is
in there and
my
just
number one out of those three, followed by World War III, followed by Insurgency Sandstorm, which I believe Insurgency Sandstorm is $29.99. Last time I bought it, it was $29.99. It might have changed. It might be more than that now. Squad, I believe, is 50 on PC, and then World War III is going to be free to play. So once they release it on PC later this week, or later next week possibly.
console or PC.
PC. Did I say console?
No. I thought you said it was
Okay.
releasing on console
Yeah,
later
so
this week.
once they release that, anyone can play it for free. You can find it on the Steam store. And then um, they are planning on a console port at some point after the full release, which will be later this year. I don't know the exact details on when that's going to release, though.
and obviously, if once we get those details, we'll mention them here.
Oh yeah.
Definitely go check out some gameplay on YouTube on these 3 games, and leave us a comment in the sections on what you guys think, and or if you guys have any games that you guys recommend that you guys want to see us do on our next podcast, or anything moving in the future that maybe we're not aware of.
Yeah.
We're always open to suggestions, so please feel free to leave those in the comments section, and maybe we can get your game up there and chat about it.
You want to take a break and play some squad?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let's go. Hey,
What's up?
can I show you something?
What do you want to show me, bro?
Can show you even more if you subscribe.
Hit that like button and subscribe.
Welcome back to the MGS Podcast, your one-stop shop for movies, games, and sports. We've reached the final segment of our podcast, which is sports. Today we are going to be talking about pickleball.
Pickleball.
Which Paul has been trying to get me to play pickleball for quite some time.
Just come out one time, man.
See, I don't know much about it, so...
You don't have to know much about it. It's for everybody.
I know, but what I was going to say is I don't know much about it, so I'm going to turn it over to you. What is pickleball?
So, right now, pickleball is like the fastest growing sport across the U.S., which is kind of crazy because I got into it. So, my wife sold something on Facebook Marketplace, and I met up, obviously they send the husbands out to go do the collecting and the paying. The wives don't want to do it, so they're like, hey, go meet up this guy and do this this deal for Facebook Marketplace. So I, go up there, and me and this guy start chatting, and he's like, hey, have you ever played pickleball? And I was like, well, isn't it for like old people? And he laughed, and he's like, no, man. He's like, it's fun. He's like, you should give it a shot. We were talking about sports we play. I always said I'm pretty competitive, so he's like, you got to come out and try it out. I was like, all right, let me know what day you guys go up there, and I'll come out. And so he hit me up like a week later, and he's like, hey, you want to come out and try this pickleball? And I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. So I met up there and played, and the first time I played, I was instantly hooked.
See, and when you first asked me, honest to God, you're like, hey, you want to go play pickleball? I had no idea what you were talking about. I've never heard of pickleball before.
Never?
I'd never heard of it before.
When we used to work at that the cell store, we used to have a whole bunch of older people come in, and they would
I love how you said when we used to work at the cell store, just in case we get famous someday and we don't want to.
Don't want to say
the brand. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were always around those older communities, so these people would come up and they would talk about it, and I was like, oh, it sounds interesting, So anyway, so I went up there and played, and for those of you who don't know anything about pickleball, like Jake, it's really like a cross play of a little bit smaller court than tennis, similar rules, and ping pong and badminton.
Like the ball has to bounce inside of the square areas.
Right. So, you serve diagonal, and it has to hit inside the square. So there's a lot of different rules. I won't get into all the rules, but you can play singles or you can play doubles. I play doubles when I go up on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it's a kind of a workout. There's a lot of running around, and you wouldn't really think of it, but you gotta be a little agile, moving around, running up, running back, and have a little bit of athletic.
So you're making me not want to play. I don't want to be athletic. I play paintball so I can sit in the back and shoot kids.
Yeah, well, you monster. But your reasoning for not wanting to come out is always, well, I don't want to disrupt my
routine.
My routine.
Well, hey,
but your routine is getting home playing video games.
I'm trying to research video games for the podcast now. Okay, what do you want me to do?
All right.
So if it's like a cross between tennis and table tennis, is it like a tennis racket that you're using?
No, actually, I brought the pickleball paddle.
You would you would bring
super
the
nerdy.
paddle.
So this is it right here. This is the one I have, which is not anything crazy expensive. I started out with actually like a wood paddle.
Almost like a ping pong paddle,
Yeah, I
just
mean,
bigger.
yeah, it's the same size, but it was wood. And I remember when I first got out there with it, everybody was kind of making fun of me. You know, like I was
A
even
poor person.
I was
We got a poor person
I
here.
was even offered to like play with a different paddle. They were like, "Here, use this one, man. Don't use that thing." But you know, it was a good way to get into it. Like,
Yeah.
and you know, you kind of learn the game. And I wasn't gonna go invest anything after one or two times playing. But then I was like, you know, after I was like instantly hooked. Like that night I went home, I was like on Amazon, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna find me something. You know, like I'm gonna get a decent paddle. And I finally pulled trigger like a month and a half later, and got one. And you know, it's like these carbon fiber honeycomb
Yeah.
centers. You know, give you a little bounce off the ball, but if the ball's like a wiffle
I
ball.
was gonna ask you that.
Yeah, and it's a little bit thicker, so a little
Okay.
bit harder than your regular wiffle ball. Like I mean, you couldn't just push in on it and dent it. It has your holes, get some rotation on it whenever you hit it. So
See, and what concerns me with you asking me to start playing pickleball with you, like I always buy top of the line stuff, and I can't afford to play another sport. Like when I started playing paintball, you know, I bought like a $400 paintball gun, and then a buddy of ours went out and bought like a $1,200 paintball gun. And I'm like, shit. So then I
I
went
gotta
out and
upgrade.
bought a $1,700
But I
paintball
mean,
gun.
that's the cool thing about it is like you know you don't have to have like having the top of the line paddle doesn't necessarily make you better if you don't have the
Makes me feel
time.
cooler.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I definitely felt better going out with this thing than a wooden one for sure.
The wooden one where it's all scraped off. You know, like when you go to the Boys and Girls Club and you got that ping pong paddle and half of it's peeling off.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I would
Yeah.
get splinters sometimes. So,
Oh, that's rough. This
so
is a man sport, is what we're trying to say. If you use a wooden paddle, be prepared.
be prepared.
So now, with it being, you said it's the fastest growing sport in America right now. I mean, is there like professional
There actually
pickleball
is.
players?
Yeah,
See,
and
I would have never guessed that.
it's intimidating. Don't go on YouTube and like look up the best in the
'Cause
world
you
because
see
you're
them-
like, I'm not playing that. Those guys are good, you know. But there is a professional league for it, and being that it's on the rise and growing as fast as it can, these tournaments are getting a lot more higher. You know, winning prize like the purse is
Yeah.
a lot higher. Like I think I want to say the top pickleballer in the world makes like 250,000 a year. Anybody
See,
can live off that. You know, it's
yeah,
not like
yeah.
he's doing it part time. You know, he's going out there and he's making money, and I'm sure he gets sponsorships from paddles and you know brands because they do shoes and you know, obviously
Yeah.
shirts and stuff. So I'm sure he gets sponsorships that way outside of that. But like the purse for the tournament was last November, and I think the purse was like $90,000.
Okay.
So
And
you're
that's for
walking away.
singles? So
Yeah,
it's just 1v1, so you're walking away with 90 grand.
90 grand. So
Okay.
which is cool. I mean, that's a huge chunk of change to
Yeah.
be able to take.
I mean, I mentioned paintball before. Paintball being a already pretty large sport, and the purses aren't like that for
No.
professional paintball. So,
Yeah.
and with
it's-
that, with the professional paintball, you know, you're splitting that between a team 10
right.
people because it's typically 5v5. You
Except
got
the guy that goes out
substitutes.
first because it's like, dude, what are you doing?
Like you?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, I hide long enough to stay out there long enough.
I swear to God, every time we play together, I have a video on my other YouTube, at Master Chief Paintball on YouTube.
Well, Jake's
Um,
usually the first one to get picked, so I always hide in the back to make sure I'm on the same team.
You know what I started doing? I hide when they're picking teams. So it's funny because when we just went out and played for my nephew's birthday, I didn't get picked first because I was hiding behind the people picking. And then the guy turns around and he's like, I want that guy. And then the other guy turns around and he's like, shit. But,
That's-
you know, with pickleball, I mean, like when you say it's competitive, like when you go out and play, is it like these big fit dudes that are playing?
No,
Like-
and that was one of the coolest things about it. Is like
I mean, I guess if you're playing, it's not big.
the age. I'm competitive, man. I will get out there and play any sport, and I'm not saying I'm going to be the best one, but I will be decent enough to be competitive
Yeah.
out there with everybody. So, when I walked out there the first time, I was like, man, this is a huge variety of age groups. I mean, like you have people out there who are 60 years old, and then you have people out there. I've played with kids that are 13 and 14 years old.
Okay.
And it's funny because they're actually playing. Some of these schools are adapting this now for kids to play in PE class.
See, it sounds like it would be something fun
Yeah,
to
and
play in PE growing up.
it really is, and it's like I said, you don't even have to be athletic to play this game because I mean, there's women, there's children, there's a wide variety of ages that are out
Yeah.
there. Um,
Now,
and
have
it's
they made an Air Bud movie about it?
no, not yet.
So
I think it's coming to theaters in November though. So yeah, I mean, God, man, I saw a commercial the other day for that, like, or it was
for Air
a
Bud?
reel. It was a reel about him playing basketball and then the football movie, and they
Yeah.
were making fun of him when he got tackled and the dog's like injured, and everybody's like so sympathetic, like, what did you think? The dog's playing football. So, but yeah, it is a cool sport, and a lot of people don't know about it, and that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I wanted to bring it up on the podcast because it's for everybody. You don't have to go out there, like I said, and be the most athletic one. You don't have to go out there and be the most fit one. Um, you just got to go out there with willingness to want to learn how to play and just have fun.
Yeah.
And those guys will teach you, and you let them know, like, hey, I'm out here first time. When I first started, I was meeting up with a bunch of guys. I got added to this group text, and I was, meeting up with them and only meeting up with them. Now I go out there. I don't even text anybody. I just go up there on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I just hop
I'm
in.
here to play.
Yeah, and I just play, and it's just fun, man. I go up there for about 2 hours, um, and I get in a workout, and I'm sweating. Now they do have like competitive days, so like they
Yeah.
do range like a rank. So like on Mondays and Wednesdays, the court that I play at, it's like 4.0 or higher. So if you go out there on those days and you're a newbie and they're going to be a little bit more frustrated, like, hey, this is not your
Get
night,
off my court.
but
Come back on a Wednesday.
usually it's open enough to where you can go out there and play with you and a buddy and kind of learn, all the courts aren't being
Yeah.
taken up. So, but most of all, from what I've, learned, everybody's friendly. Everybody wants to kind of teach everybody how to play, and everybody's kind of passionate about it. So,
So again, I didn't even know pickleball was a thing. So do you know when it started to like gain popularity?
um, I want to say it was back in 2019 and 2020 is when it really picked up speed and became like the fastest growing sport across the nation. And it was really because everybody was locked up during COVID
Yeah.
and everybody wanted to get out and do something. So you kind of get a little bit of a niche here with this game, and it just started taking off. And you don't have to be right next to somebody. You're not breathing right next to somebody, and
I wonder how
it
many
took
people
off.
play it.
You what?
I wonder how many people actually play pickleball.
I want to say right now that it's over 4 million.
Oh, someone did some research.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna look it up, man. I'm
Yeah.
gonna make sure I want to say it's like over 4 million people that are playing the game today. So that's a huge number,
It is.
and they're just developing more and more courts, and starting more recreational places to be able to play the game. So
Well, because you played not too far from where we're at. You're, what, a 15-minute drive from your house, and they've got a few courts there, right?
yeah, actually, the court I play on is actually so we're based out of Orlando, Florida, and the court I play on is one of the biggest ones in our area,
Okay.
which is 6 courts. So you think about it, and you're like, well, that's not very big,
Yeah.
but the games don't last long. You play to 11, and then it kind of just rotates. The winners stay on, losers come off, 2 more go, and it constantly is rotating. So you're not really standing by for a long time. I think the
Okay.
longest I stand by is maybe 10 minutes.
Now, point-wise, is it simple? 1 point at a time?
Yeah, 1 point at a time.
no
You play to 11,
three-pointers,
win
no?
by 2. Yeah, no 3-pointers.
Okay.
But it's
If I hit
requires
it from under my leg, do I get a bonus point?
you get oohs and
Ooh.
ahs.
Ooh.
Ooh, ah. And maybe a round of applause.
Okay,
clap,
okay.
so.
I don't think I'm gonna try. I'm not as limber as I used to be. Like if I try to reach back and go under my legs, you're gonna hear a pop. Like ah.
Yeah, and then we'll all cheer for it.
Oh, that's what you're talking about with the oohs and ahs. I mean, I'll get out there with you at some point. I am curious to play. I'll probably go out and play. After you see Batman.
Oh, that'll be this week. So
We'll see Scouts Honor.
yeah, it's funny. I got a couple of our buddies to go out and play. One of them I got really hooked on it. He went out and got his paddles of his own,
Mind you,
and
this is
then
the same guy we were talking about earlier that tried to one-up me with the paintball gun, so I had to one-up him. I know you're watching this right now, by the way.
and he went out and bought a paddle, and literally 3 weeks later, he's not come out again. So, um, he
And he got a carbon fiber one, right?
yeah, he got a pretty nice one. I think got a dual set. So I'm sure he spent anywhere from $50 to $100. But man, these things can range up to like $250 for.
See, but even that's not bad because you figure some of your other sports with high-end equipment, baseball. Look at how much some of these bats and gloves cost. Tennis rackets can get close to $1,000.
Yeah.
Me playing paintball. My gun was the gun that I have now was $1,900. So to get a high-end setup for a sport that can keep you occupied and you can have fun with, that's not bad.
No, and that's the best thing about it. Like I said, you don't have to be the most athletic one. You don't even have to go out there and worry about really age-wise. And, like I said, you have a willingness to learn. And for literally $25, you can get started and get a paddle and go out there and just enjoy yourself. So if you enjoy, running around, getting sweaty and kind of burning some fat, it's a great way. So that's what I do it for.
Why did you look right at me when you're like, you would burn
I
some
didn't
fat?
look right at you. I just looked at your
Looked into my
belly
soul.
direction.
Why do you think I have my leg crossed right now so people can't see the gut?
I'm impressed that you keep your leg up that high the whole time.
I don't have any muscles in my legs, so it's pretty
It's like
easy.
bone on bone.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get it up that high. But we do actually, on off topic of pickleball, there were a couple of things that came up actually right before we were going to do the podcast. A few pretty big news stories. One of them being Atlanta Falcons wide receiver Calvin Ridley has been suspended for the 2022 season.
The entire season.
The
We're not
entire
talking about
season.
half the season,
Yeah.
6 games. Not like he took some, steroids and he's
Yeah.
out for half the season,
It's not like he punched his wife in an elevator and dragged her out.
Yeah, I mean,
Because he got suspended, 4 games for that?
yeah, I mean, didn't touch somebody inappropriately in a parking lot and still got to keep his full job starting quarterback.
Is that a Big Ben reference?
Yeah. It's funny because I saw, just real quick, I saw a picture of him the other day, and some girl's like, "Guess who I saw in the parking lot?" And all the comments were, "Run!"
He gonna kill you. Well, so with Ridley though, he got suspended for betting on, I believe it was NFL games, is what I saw in the article. We didn't have a whole lot of time prior to the podcast to actually research that.
It was funny because I was getting ready to head over, and I saw it pop up, and I
Yeah.
was like, "We got to mention this." Like,
Yeah,
this is crazy.
and at that point, I'm doing sound checks and stuff and trying to get the equipment set up, so I didn't really have time to look at it. But I did look at a quote from him that he had put on Twitter, where he was actually upset about it. He went on to say that he doesn't have a gambling
I was
problem.
gonna say that's the one I saw.
Yeah, he doesn't have a gambling problem. He even made a joke that he's just going to be more healthy when he comes back. But
A lot of people don't come back after a full season.
yeah,
of the
and
NFL. Unless you're Michael Vick.
Yeah, unless you're Michael Vick, yeah. My thing is, depending on what he was betting on, and now mind you, the NFL is probably going to do more research into this. There could be some insider trading too, especially if he put bets on the Falcons games or on himself. Now, again, I don't have any of the details. We didn't have a lot of time to look into it, but I mean, he had a pretty good year last year too, and I mean, I'd go to say, especially with Julio Jones leaving, Calvin Ridley was
1 and 2,
Yeah.
1 or 2. So, yeah, it's kind of the thing that went through my mind was like, okay, so he's betting on games, but let's put a for sure bet that he's probably not the only one to ever do it. He's just the one getting caught right now. And
yeah.
I think the NFL is going to come down hard on him, obviously so far with a full suspension of a season, but they're going to make an example and, say like, we're not going to tolerate this.
Yeah.
This is unacceptable.
Makes me think of that video with, who was it? Cam Newton was talking to, what was the Panthers wide receiver name. He was there for a long time.
Smith?
Steve Smith.
Yeah.
Steve Smith was there on the sideline. He's like, "Hey, should I start this guy in my fantasy football league? Like, is he a flex?" And the guy is standing
That was
right
at
there.
the Pro Bowl, right?
Yeah.
When they were sitting there chatting about it? Yeah, I did see that.
He's just trash talking the guy, and he's standing right there. But we'll see what comes out of this. I mean, I know I had read something earlier today about how this was prior to the suspension news that Atlanta was really going to try to go all out to take advantage of Matt Ryan's prime, which we're beyond that. But we did have another piece of breaking news, which was a little closer to home for you, being a Cincinnati Bengals fan.
And I even think we talked about it last week.
I believe we mentioned it, yeah, because we were talking about the franchise tag on Devontae Adams and the possibility of that. And with that news, the Bengals placed a franchise tag on Jesse Bates.
I told you, man. I'm telling you, these NFL guys do not like the franchise tag.
Yeah.
They think it's a slap in the face. And I knew something was coming because yesterday he unfollowed the Bengals on Twitter.
Yeah.
He took down his stuff on Instagram of work placement and that stuff. And I don't think he took down his pictures and everything, but it was enough to get everybody to notice.
Yeah.
All right, they didn't come to an agreement again on a contract for him because they talked about contract extension last year and they weren't able to make anything happen. And it hurts me to say because I'm like, pay the guy, but I don't think that he deserves to be the highest paid safety in the league, but I do think that he's one of the top safeties in the league.
I mean, he was a big part of that defense's success this past year, especially in the playoffs.
So he struggled a lot in the beginning of the year. He wasn't outstanding, but yes, in the playoffs, I mean, he had that tip, in the overtime against the Kansas City Chiefs, patted it right out, and we were able to get an interception out of it.
I remember that.
And
because I remember you standing up and screaming.
Yeah, I was going nuts.
Yeah.
And then in the Super Bowl, he had the interception in the end zone.
Yep.
When Matthew Stafford tried to do kind of like a Hail Mary down. Well, no, it wasn't a Hail Mary, but just kind of made something happen out of nothing. And we ended up getting that interception in the end zone. So, in the playoffs, you're 100% right. I mean, if we were getting that Jesse Bates all year,
then pay him for
absolutely,
sure.
give him the money. But I don't see why the Bengals couldn't get him somewhere around the $13 to $14 million a year mark, and I think he's worth that.
Yeah. With the franchise tag, he'll get that, but I think with the reason I think a lot of these players,
yeah, if he gets injured, there's no guarantee.
Exactly,
money.
And I think that's where the slap in the face comes from a lot of these players, especially these guys who are so committed to their franchise and they 100%. Want to be a part of that franchise.
And he is committed to our defense. I mean, he is a leader out there on defense. He is a voice of our team. The guys love him in the locker room. I mean, you got Mike Hilton, you got guys going on Twitter saying, "Pay this man, get him his money." And you love to see that because you want to see the team support, what they believe in. And, kind of brings me to my next thing with the Bengals is there could be some very positive stuff out of this, Hoodie Nation. There could be a reason why we're not paying Jesse Bates this franchise. I mean, when we're franchise tagging him, is I'm really hoping that they're like, hey, look, man, we need to get salary cap right now. We need our salary cap to go get an O-line for Joe Burrow.
Well, and I know
we can't do 70 sacks a season and have a franchise quarterback.
Yeah. Well, I know kind of like what we talked about last week. We brought up salary cap a few times last week. A lot of teams are having to restructure a lot of deals because of that decrease in the salary cap. I know I just saw a few different players throughout the league got, their next year salary converted into a bonus because then as a bonus, it doesn't affect the salary cap. So, I mean, there might be a lot more behind the Jesse Bates thing that we just don't know
literally
yet.
When I pulled into to the house, I just saw an ESPN article saying something about the salary caps for the new NFL season. So I didn't check to see if they got raised or the structures of them. But I do know the Bengals have the third highest available salary cap.
Okay.
Which is one thing we've always talked about too with Bengals and Green Bay. And I was so shocked that you guys had such a debt in salary cap. Was before last year, and the year before, the Bengals and the Packers were a team that only drafted.
Yeah.
Like, we were
we
not
had that
going
conversation. I
out
remember that.
and picking up people in free agency, which Bengals fans, we can tell you for years, like, what are we doing? Why are we sleeping on these people?
And I felt that too.
Why are we not going out and getting anything? And I think Green Bay is, like, still doing that. Like, they're just picking up people in the drafts, and they're not going out and signing big free agents. They're keeping what they get. They get luck of the draw and getting people like Dylan, and they're getting people like Devontae Adams
Yeah.
and Aaron Jones, you know, and they draft well. But at a certain point, you got to go out there and get defensive players. You got to go out there and get big O-lines.
And, you know, when we hired a new GM, I can never say his last name, so I'll just say Goot. When we hired Goot, he did start actually bringing people in. You know, we got Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith. You know, we took Adrian Amos from the Chicago Bears. All three of
And
those.
how long has he been there?
2-3 years now.
So
Yeah.
same with Zach Taylor. When Zach Taylor came in, he made that change in the culture. Like, look,
Yeah.
Brown family, we got to make this changes because it's not working.
Yeah, it's necessary to get that. You get one of those big free agents who, I mean, even if they're not the best, if they're a name, you know, like Khalil Mack, you know, when he went to Chicago, was he the same Khalil Mack in Oakland? No, but he was still dominant.
I don't know, because the first couple games,
Hey, I
he
watched
looked
a
like
lot
he
more
had
of them.
something to prove.
Yeah, one of
He
them was against us,
Yeah.
and they like almost killed Aaron Rodgers in the first half, and he came back. I think we were down by 17 points. Don't want to brag, Bears fans, but we beat you.
But, and the same thing, like, why didn't Green Bay go out and try to get him? Now you've let him go to a
Yeah.
divisional, and who's a monster of a dude. I mean, they were talking about him being one of the greatest defenses out there, and then
Yeah,
it could have been an Aaron Donald, you know? Like, I mean, big dude.
yeah,
But, you know, going back to the Bengals, I think I know that it's frustrating for Jesse Bates.
Yeah.
But I think there could be some positive out this that, look, we're going to try to use this salary cap right now to protect our franchise quarterback. Because at the end of the day, man, there's a lot of stars on that team who we need to keep.
mm-hmm.
And they probably weighing, and it's a business.
It is.
And they're weighing their options of like, look, we got Jamar Chase. We got T. Higgins. We got Tyler Boyd.
Yeah,
We got Joe Burrow.
and
we got
Jamar
Joe
Chase
Mixon.
is going to want to get off that rookie deal and
Yeah.
try to restructure something
100%.
with
I
how
mean,
much
dude, Rookie of the Year breaking all sorts of records.
Yep.
And the guy said he was going to come in, and he said, I'm going to break every record they have. And when he comes in and puts up,
when you
you
think of
sign that
Bengals
man.
records, it's not like he's breaking a record held by a no-name receiver. I mean,
Chad
you guys
Johnson,
got Chad Johnson there.
Ocho Cinco.
So that's pretty big shoes to fill.
Yeah,
so
man. So hold your heads up, Houday Nation. I think there could be some good coming out of this. And Jesse Bates, man, I don't know that you'll ever hear this, but we love you. We appreciate you. And I do think you're one of the best safeties in the league right now. And I do hope we get you some kind of contract. I hope it's just not unreasonable to where you're going to want to leave the team and, you know, find something different. So
yeah, but I think that'll wrap things up for our sports segment, which is also our final segment of the show.
God, I love sports.
We're going to talk a lot about football. We do watch a lot of other sports as well. We are both diehard football fans, but I also love basketball, baseball. You love pickleball.
Pickleball. Get out there and try it. I'm telling you, just go give it a shot. It's not the fastest growing sport in the nation for no reason.
Yeah.
Like I said, for $25, you can pick up a paddle. Hell, you can even show up out there, and I'm sure someone's willing to let you borrow a paddle if you really want to try it out. But we appreciate you guys coming on. Again, thank you everybody who's subscribed, who's shared our video, viewed our video. Please continue to help us out. Share, subscribe, like these videos.
Yeah, and let us know what you think. You know, if there's something you want us to talk about, put it in the comments, and we can bring it up in one of our podcasts.
Until next time, we'll see you guys next week for episode 3. We appreciate you guys coming on, and we'll see you time.
Have a good night. What was the
Kylo, you disappoint me. You're so weak. I'm trying to be you. I want to be you, and better. You will never be me. Ah, you are pathetic, Kylo. Shut up, Maul. I'll kill you now. You both are weak and pathetic. I'm so much better than you, Maul. You can't even kill a girl who barely wields a lightsaber. You got killed by Obi-Wan Kenobi. I killed Obi-Wan. At an older age, I am superior to you all. You weaklings. Ah!